Welcome back, people. UFC 309 is finally upon us. This weekend, it all goes down at MSG. Finally, hopefully this situation gets a little bit of resolution at heavyweight, because what's been going on in the heavyweight division over the last 12 months has been absolutely ludicrous. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, both been on the sidelines while Tom Aspinall continues to move this division on, defending his interim heavyweight championship. Finally, the fight goes down. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. I don't know how you guys were feeling about this fight a year ago, what the anticipation levels were, but I can tell you for me, they were a lot higher than they are coming into this fight. It's a whole 12 months later, and this matchup didn't need to happen necessarily 12 months ago. You know, Stipe Miocic, someone who hasn't fought in, I think, over 1,300 days. It's a wild statistic. Someone who's so old as well. You know, age at heavyweight is a different thing. So I think it's going to be less of an obstacle for Stipe. You know, he's been out resting, not taking damage. And if he's been quietly training, he could turn a lot of heads. Imagine if Miocic comes in and has a great performance. I would love to see that. Let's jump straight into that main event. Johnny Bones Jones, what some people would say is the greatest MMA fighter of all time, making his return after a pretty nasty injury, especially for a wrestler. He'll be coming back after tearing his pec off the bone against Stipe Miocic, objectively the greatest heavyweight of all time in terms of accomplishment. Yes, this guy, like we said, is a little bit past it now, maybe a lot past it. But as Jon Jones has said, when you look at this fight on paper as a legacy fight, it's a great fight. You know, two titans coming together, two guys who have done so much in the sport, in the UFC. The strange thing is, and the sad thing, unfortunately, it just doesn't need a belt anywhere near it. Jon Jones has shown he's not really keen on fighting the young, hungry guys, giving an opportunity to the next generation, which is your job as the champion. Look at Volkanovski, countless other guys who, you know, give the next contender the shot and keep the division moving. Jon Jones has done that for a long, long time. Not anymore. He's here to cherry pick, and this weekend's fight is a prime example of that. Stipe Miocic is someone Jon Jones looks at and thinks he can beat in most areas. On the feet, I think Stipe Miocic is going to be in a lot of trouble. Jon Jones' length, his kicks, his diversity on the feet, his ability to just freeze you and keep you guessing is one of the things that makes him so special. And if he's able to work that in with the grappling, I just struggle to see where Stipe Miocic is going to have any success in this fight. If he can stop some takedowns, Jon Jones is starting to get tired carrying all that extra weight, and Miocic is starting to land his jab, go down to the body with those beautiful left hooks. Who knows? It could look like a completely different fight. And like we said with Jon Jones and that injury, it's a terrible injury for a wrestler to be coming off of, because you need that explosion for a double leg, single leg. All those muscles are getting incorporated. I'm sure, though, it's been 12 months, you know, I'm sure he's done everything to rehab that injury. He's got a lot of money and access to probably some of the best exercise physiologists and doctors on this planet. So I'm sure Jon Jones has recovered back to 100%, no worries. Like I said, this fight is finally happening, and hopefully, regardless of the result, both of these guys can just ride off into the sunset and let Tom Aspinall become what most people think he is, as the unified heavyweight champion, and let this division keep moving, because what's been happening with him is, just absolute insanity. Regardless, I wonder if the fight is close, you know, and it's actually a good fight, enjoyable to watch, and Jon Jones doesn't just steamroll Stipe. If a little bit of the bad taste in people's mouth over this last year and just the whole general sort of feeling around this fight will change a little bit, and people will go, oh no, the UFC knew what they were doing the whole time. This was the fight to make. Interesting, we'll see. I can see, you know, a world where that takes place. I can also see a world where Jon Jones makes Stipe Miocic look 50 years old and the fight isn't close, and people go, why the fuck do we wait 12 months for that? We knew that was going to happen. Gonna have to wait and find out this weekend, hey? In the co-main event, we have an absolute burner. The first fight between Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira was fireworks. Absolute insanity from the moment it started to the moment it ended. And it's an interesting rematch, because it's a bit of a crossroads for both of these guys. Michael Chandler, thank the Lord, is getting a fight in 2024. The guy hasn't fought in so long, been waiting for Conor McGregor, someone who is clearly interested in partying more than fighting. And what Chandler sort of went through over that last year and a half, just sitting on the sidelines in the sort of prime money-making point of his career, especially in the UFC, is pretty rough. So I'm glad to see him getting a fight. And hopefully if he beats someone like Oliveira, the UFC will reward him and put him into a title shot. That is a very hard task though, because like we saw in the first fight, Charles Oliveira is one of the most dynamic, electric, terrifying fighter. When he is on, good luck. He is an absolute buzzsaw and will just come to you, puts the fight right in your face. And that's what makes this stylistic matchup so entertaining, because Chandler is happy to do the exact same thing. I think Oliveira, if he's wise, will try and implement a bit of grappling a bit earlier. But good luck, because as we saw in that first round of their first fight, Chandler comes in and throws bombs. If there was a few more seconds, he might have had Oliveira out of that fight. Towards the end of the round, he really hurt him bad. And I think if Chandler connects with powerful shots, he's going to be able to put Oliveira down again. On the other side, though, Oliveira, he's the one who KO'd Chandler in their first fight with the most picture-perfect left hook. Both guys are so dangerous. Oliveira more so on the ground as well. But Chandler's shown that he is, a great wrestler. He just doesn't have the submission threat of Oliveira. But this fight on the feet is where I want to see it take place. These guys are going to go to war. It's going to be so exciting for as long as it lasts. It's going to be fireworks. Make sure you tune into the rematch. And like I said, it's a crossroads fight because Oliveira is coming off a couple of losses and he needs a win. If I'm being quite honest, the rest of the card is quite hollow. To have those two fights at the top of the card, they've pretty much called it a day. Yes, we have Bo Nickal, Paul Craig. Bo Nickal, someone who they're giving a structured road to the top. Bo Nickal's getting matchups which are getting tougher in competition as the fights go along, yes, but they're building him slowly, which I think is the wise thing to do, because if you see his striking, he still looks very, very green. Mauricio Ruffi, someone out of the fighting nerds who is so entertaining to watch. His fight against Jamie Malarkey, another Aussie, just destroyed him. Didn't even make it look close. Someone who's coming out of the fighting nerds, a great team. Those guys are on fire right now, as we've seen with Prates, Bajalio, countless other names, John Silver. Yeah, this is a really, really good team with a lot of momentum right now. And the first fight was supposed to be Charlie Campbell, which would have been fireworks. James Lontop comes in. I think this is Rufy all day. I'm very, very keen to watch him come back and give us another performance, because his striking is something to watch. Marcus McGee, Jonathan Martinez, the sleeper fight on the card. These guys both train out of really good teams. Marcus McGee, though, out of the MMA lab in Arizona, someone who's just rising. A little bit older, but he's put it all together and he's on an amazing streak in the UFC. His hands are powerful. I'm going to be super interested to see how that matches up with the long sort of leg kicking style. Jonathan Martinez. It's going to be a really interesting fight. Make sure you tune into that one on the prelims. Chris Weidman is back in a fight with Eric Anders, which has the UFC Apex written all over it. I know Weidman is, a guy out of this sort of area, but, this card is just full of these matchups where it just confuses me a little bit. Why are we on primetime at MSG here? Could have filled this card with so much better talent, but Jon Jones, Conor McGregor on these cards with just superstars, they're happy to have one or two big fights at the top, then the rest. They know they're going to sell with those big names, so I guess it makes sense. Chris Weidman would have won this fight 10 out of 10 times 5 years ago, but he is so past it that it's probably a pretty competitive fight now. So we're going to have to wait and see. Chris Weidman will get a massive pop from the crowd, hometown boy. So that'll be interesting to watch as well. Jim Miller is back on the card, an absolute OG, veteran, legend of the game. He'll be taking on Damon Jackson. I'm glad they're giving Jim Miller these sort of fights, you know. He'll win some of these, he'll lose some of these, but he could do this till he's 60 years old. The guy is an absolute savage. Oban Elliott, Basil Hafez, that one's going to be really entertaining, I think. Two guys who are, you know, Hafez very strong. Oban Elliott, slick grappler, but they both can push a great pace. Oban Elliott puts himself right in the danger. I think this is going to be a really, really exciting fight for as long as it lasts. Like I said, the card top to bottom is pretty weak, you know. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, finally we get some resolution there. Thank the Lords. The co-main event is going to set the arena on fire. That fight cannot be anything but fireworks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know how you guys are feeling about this card, you know. Everything that's gone in with Jon Jones over the last 12 months, I'm sure people have a bit of a bad taste in their mouth. But like I said, let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that, and we will chat soon.